Welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Dr. Fred. Welcome to Friday. It's been a busy week for me already. I have to tell you, I just got back from a mental health therapist conference today at about 2 o'clock. Went and taught my Zumba class. And we're here, but we have our special guest, Marissa D. McKinnies, to talk about her book, Finding Her, Rediscovering the Beauty of Your Reflection. But before we get started and get into that awesome book and discussion, please let us check in and tell us how your week has been and give us a little information. So, Marissa, how's your week been?
My week has been outstanding. It's been a strange week because this actually is the week I celebrate my born day, hence my crown,
Oh,
beautiful crown
I
there.
was going to ask you about your crown.
Yes, yes. I am a Cinco de Mayo baby, so all of Texas celebrates me, of course. So
Awesome.
free drinks and all that good stuff. So I'm still in the haze of my celebration yesterday, but it still continues today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank
Yeah, so
you.
this is perfect. You get to talk about your book and all your accomplishments on here because I'm going to ask you about how you got started in writing and all of that stuff. And so, where do you live for the audience? Hey,
I
Angela.
Hey, I am currently in Austin, Texas. Don't ask me where I'm from, however, because I'm what you call a military brat. I'm a world
Okay.
child, child. I have been here, there, and everywhere. Born in the Philippines, went to high school in Berlin, Germany. So I am a child of the world, a product of the world. My parents are what you call the true Avengers.
Oh, I
So,
love that.
but Austin is currently my home right now. So, and I'm loving it while I'm here.
Okay. And how long have you been in Austin?
I have been, another tricky question. I have been in Austin for 6 months. I was in Georgetown for a year. Before that, I was in Austin again for a year. So, depending on how you equate that, you could say I've been in Austin for 2.5 years.
Okay.
If you just discount Georgetown, but I don't know. I'm just
Well,
a bunch of complexities.
I love that though. That means you've been exposed to like a lot of experiences, which is good. Which is
Yeah,
good.
trying to find where I fit. I think I'm settled now, so I'm good.
Okay.
Hmm.
Awesome. Excuse me. So welcome everybody. Make sure you check in. I see the numbers up there. So there's people out there. Make sure you check in. We start at 8:40 p.m. Eastern time, and that's because just to give everybody a chance to come in. Hey Paula, how are you? And Marissa, you see where I'm putting the people's responses there?
I
That's
do. This is so
that's
cool.
that's where I will put questions. Like if people ask questions, I'll place them there. As you can see, everybody's starting to say hello. Hey, Tanil, my niece. Hey, Donetta, my sister.
Oh, you have a nice little audience. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they're here. They're excited to. We have learned so much on this show from previous authors that every time I have a new author, we're just excited to dig in and learn about you and your experiences and what you bring to the table. Because that's what I think a good book is that it provides a life experience, and then I noticed that you talked about your intuition a little and saying how that helped you get out of that, but we'll get into all of that momentarily. But
I'm
welcome,
excited.
welcome, welcome, everybody. We are talking to author Marissa D. McKinnies, and if I mispronounce your name, please correct me.
It's McKinnis. It was
McKinnis.
McKinnis. Yes, it
McKinnis.
was spelled intentionally wrong. My ancestors, I was told, put an extra letter in there. I don't know if it was an E or an I, to d- uh, be able to
Differentiate.
our McKinnis from other McKinnises. I don't know which one was the correct spelling, but way generations past, they changed the way our name was spelled. So it's actually McKinnis, but it looks like McKinnis.
McKinnis.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. See, I'm glad I asked. Okay.
See, if you were anybody else, I would correct you, McKinnis. I'm sorry, it's McKinnis. I wasn't gonna be rude because this is not the time. So
And tell us why you have your crown on again for all the people that are just coming in so they
yes,
can tell you.
yes. Well, this is my born month. My birthday was on yesterday, Cinco de Mayo. So I'm still donning my crown. So if anybody wants to say happy birthday, they don't have to feel bad and say belated. They can just say happy birthday because it took more than a day to have me. I was 9 months in, so I spent the whole month celebrating.
Okay. You like, this is my month.
This is my month. Yes, yes, yes.
So awesome, awesome. There we go. Here they come.
Now, how do I share this to Facebook so I can get others to join? Because I see you have it, but I
Yeah,
don't have.
see, well, I'm on this thing called Restream, and it puts it on my Facebook, my YouTube, and other things. But if you go, what I do is if you go to your phone and share it that way,
Okay,
you can just find the show and then just
okay,
share it that way onto your page. That's
okay. So
probably
I'm,
gonna be
I'm not
easier.
being rude. If you see me on my phone, I'm actually doing that.
Okay, I do that too. That's why I'm like, because I share it out that way.
Oh, well, my sister's watching because she just shared it. She just sent it to me. Thank you,
There you
Leilani.
go. There you go.
Leilani Davis, that's my sister.
Which one? Which
Leilani Davis.
Leilani Davis? Hello,
Um,
Leilani. How are you? You getting the
yeah,
happy birthdays? You see, I'm putting them up there for you.
I see. Oh, thank you guys so much. Thank you. Oh, and my dad and my stepmom is watching too. Hey,
Oh, oh, it's a family affair.
I'm excited.
I am too. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Wow, this is
Well,
exciting.
welcome everybody. I'm glad y'all came to support Marissa because this is very exciting. We get to learn a lot about her books and all of that stuff. So we will get started right now. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing.
Sure. So, um, a little bit about me. Let's see. I already told you guys that I'm a military brat. I'm world traveled. So had a very diverse lifestyle. I was able to experience different cultures and intermingle with different people. So I have a very open mind. I'm not closed minded at all because of that. I thank my parents for the opportunity to have been able to experience those things because I think it really shaped me into the well rounded woman that I am today. Um, I am, as my book explained to you, and I'll just show you my picture of my book.
There you are.
As my book explained to you, I am a divorcee. I was married to a man who I'm not going to say was horrific because he is a great man for somebody else, just wasn't great for me.
Just not for you. Okay.
It's not for me. And but from that, I have a wonderful young man. I actually have three beautiful children and a bonus baby. My son that stemmed for that marriage is currently the only child that I have in the home now because everybody else is grown. But
Hmm.
that was the greatest gift that I received from that. That was the first greatest gift I received. The second gift, I received three gifts from that marriage. Our son, my desire to want to share and to encourage and motivate other women that have themselves experienced domestic violence of different forms. And I
Okay.
also got I picked up my passion for writing. So I don't think that that marriage was a bad thing because it did bring out something in me that I did not know that I have. So I don't like to focus on the negative. I like to focus on the positive. So if you were to ask me, well, how do you feel as a domestic violence victim? I'll tell them I'm not a victim, first of all. I'm a
Okay.
domestic victor because I've
Okay.
overcome it. And so my job and um, my perspective of things is that I want to be here to help teach, encourage, uplift, and motivate women to change their mindset from being a victim to being a victor.
I
So
love that.
in a nutshell.
I love that. Okay. And so how many books do you have currently? Do
I
you
actually only have one, and this is like a self-help book. This is a book that during COVID, and my cousin Charlotte is watching. Hey, Charlotte.
Hey,
Um,
Charlotte.
so this book actually was a result of a dare. When I was in COVID, I was a part of a group called Freedom Friday. It was a bunch of female entrepreneurs that endeavored to step out and do something, wonderful and work within their power. And
Mhm.
so they was like, well, since COVID is here and people are losing jobs left and right, now it's important more than ever to generate your own income, find something that you enjoy doing and generate your income. And
Okay.
so I wasn't without a job because I'm in healthcare. But the difference is that my job in healthcare wasn't a frontline employee, so I didn't have to be in the office.
Okay.
So I wasn't in the midst of the action. So when I clocked out from work, I was bored. I was like the rest of the world, standing out the window talking about, can I go outside?
Mhm.
So, so when she said, I dare you all to try something, to build something, I said, well, let me go ahead and take this dare for myself. And I was trying to figure out what I could do. My daughter told me, Mom, you wrote, why don't you just write your book? And I'm like, I didn't write, I journaled. But she was like, you can just write your book. I'm like, okay, because actually she started writing her book. And then I'm watching her and I'm like, okay, then I can do that. But then this voice in the back of my head said, I wrote it for you. Just go put it together.
Mm.
And I was like, okay,
Okay.
literally. The purpose of my book is like I have journals, volumes of journals. And this is how I overcame my depression. This is how I reclaimed my power was through journaling in those years leading up to my divorce and then thereafter. And so I went through all my journals, and then there was one journal in particular that had a bunch of the same themes in there. And so
Mhm.
there was poetry, and this poetry I was waking up in the middle of the night and I'm like, the Lord would just play something on my heart, just words. And I'll be sleeping, I'm tossing and turning, I can't do it. Literally, I get up in the middle of the night and I get my journal and I'll just write. And then when I put that period at the end of it, I'll close the book out like a light. Those particular poems and those particular short stories is what made this book. When he said, I
Wow.
wrote it for you, he wrote it for me. The Lord gave me the words to say, and He put this together for me. And it only took me 24 hours to compile it and then reach out to one of my girlfriends who has wrote several books, Keisha Simmons. Hey, girl, Coach Cake, Team Kick Ministries. She's like, give me the book, I'll format it, and I'll get it sent off for you. And she did. So
Wow.
that's how I actually wrote this book. It was literally a dare, and then the Lord told me it's done, and it took me 24 hours. It's not a book, it's a self-help guide, but it's my labor of love.
Gotcha. So it sounds like it was therapeutic for you because you were saying once you got out those words and you put that period there, it was like you
Yep.
released that negative energy. And
Yes.
on our last show last week, we were talking about journaling and how it is very therapeutic. And Karen says,
Hmm.
"Look at God. That's
Yes.
amazing."
Yes. I mean, and you're right about that because it's not, and that part of me writing, it didn't happen overnight. That was a process. That was years.
Mhm.
Actually, this self-help guide was written in the course of a few years because it was at different times when the words would come to me. And so, and like now I'm working on another book, but it's a whole different type. It's still a self-help, but it's actual a book. It's bigger than this one.
Okay.
But that book is the difference between that one and this one, it's just I didn't know what I was writing except for I needed to get this off my chest. And it was just something that was riding me. So it wouldn't
Okay.
let me sleep. And so I put it together. And so when all of this had come together, I was like, look, wow, wow. And I started reading it and I can see the progressions. So that's why I broke the book up the way that I did. It was the progressions and the stages that I went through. And I wanted to
Okay.
be very careful to make sure I did not villainize my abuser. I did not want him to be the focus of my story because if I've made him the main focus of my story, then I took away my power and I gave it back to him,
Okay.
and I did
Mhm.
not want him to have that. So I made sure when I put this together, I did it in such a way that I told what needed to be told to make my point, but I got off of it quickly and I moved on.
So your primary focus was not to like focus on that I guess your
The
ex,
trauma.
the
Mhm,
trauma. Okay.
mhm.
Okay. So what is the book? How does it guide the person into I guess overcoming their abuse and depression and all of that stuff?
So in my book, when you open it, after every single chapter, I made sure to give you reflection points. And so I wanted to make sure that I tell my story, and then I want you to have some time to regurgitate the information. So there's questions, and there's journal prompts there.
Okay.
So you'll be able to open it up, and you'll look at it as you read the story, and this is your way to reflect. Those that have read my book,
Hmm.
they've said the same thing. At first, those that knew me said that they never imagined that I went through what I went through. And then those strangers that have gotten the book said, it's amazing how the book allowed them to sit down and actually think. Even though it's a short read, you'll find yourself not reading it all within 5 minutes, right?
Okay.
You'll
Okay.
find yourself reading it and then stepping back and actually trying to do the journal prompts, because that's where the meat is. That's where the healing is. It's reading it and actually answering those questions. And so that's the way that I take the power and help you reclaim your power, is by you taking the time to answer those questions, to do that deep introspection. I'm not saying that you're going to be healed overnight, but I'm saying it's going to help open some doors for you, open your mind a bit, so you can start seeing where those pitfalls are and what it is that you need to work out. Oh my goodness, the sound went away.
Oh, I hit the mute button on my little
Oh, I was like,
I was like, "Oh my." So what I was saying is I'm a mental health therapist, and so what it sounds like you're having the readers do is sit in the actual emotion and understand why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. And a lot of people don't like to do that because I guess I think we're just taught not to sit in those negative feelings. But if you don't understand those negative feelings, you won't know how to overcome them. So
right,
one good thing is a big term that I use a lot is mindfulness, and that's being in the moment, being present, being intentional about understanding
intentional.
if you were being abused and then you've managed to get out of that situation. So do you feel like you learned anything from that experience or
Oh my goodness.
okay.
Yes. Well, okay. And in my learning, it was a hard pill, and I did as like you, and not like
Mhm.
you, because you went all the way, doctor, and went got your full kit and caboodle when it comes to getting your understanding in psychology. I went
Okay.
halfway through my master's program in psychology and decided, I'm tired, I quit.
It happens all the time.
It's a lot. So
Yeah.
I switched my focus. I got my master's in something totally different, but psychology, I quit halfway through. I may go back and pick it up because,
It sounds like you still have some of it in there. Like I
I
hear it.
do. I
Uh-huh.
do. Because, one of the things that I learned was that I have to, like you say, be intentional.
Mhm.
And in order to be intentional, sometimes that requires you to be alone. When you get out of a relationship, a lot of people want to fill that void with another relationship.
I read that on your thing. Yep.
Okay. And that is the wrong thing to do. You have to take a moment to sit back and be one with yourself, because it's not always that person was so bad. I mean, yeah, the person could have been bad, but
Mhm.
what about that relationship could you have done differently?
Exactly.
Okay. And I learned this from a person that's really close to me. When he was wronged and really wrong, he
Mhm.
went through a legal situation that did not have to happen, because the police were completely in the wrong. But what he did when he came back to give his testimony, he said, you know what, I could have done something different. And I was like, what the heck? You didn't do nothing wrong. What are you talking about? You couldn't do it. You could have done something different. But when he did that, he got his power back, and
Yep.
everybody, because it was like, wow, okay, that's one way to look at it, and it shifts the entire diagram around into where you're standing in a position of power, because now you're saying, all right, I know that I used to be a nag. I know that I would
Mhm.
tell them to do something, and within 3 minutes, I'm on them asking them how come they haven't done it. I don't give a person a time to take a breath before I'm riding them,
Which is a lot.
which is a whole lot. Well, that's a
Yeah.
negative trait. So maybe I can work on how I communicate my needs to others. Okay.
Mhm.
Another thing, well, what about the fact that I'm a lover? I am a lover. I'm a Taurus. I love love. It's either I love you or I can't stand you. There is no in
There's
between.
no in between.
Right. And when I love a person, I love them with all of me. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm a hugger. I'm a kisser. I'm a hold your hand. And this is my friends and my family. People that know me, I annoy them. They'll tell you that because I'm truly a lover. Right. But I have to learn that because I'm that way, not everybody receives it the same way that I do. So
Right.
when I was loving on him or, whomever, was I
Hmm.
possibly overbearing with that?
Overbearing. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So these are my takeaways. What things can I work on with myself before I try to move into another relationship? And then what are the triggers that happen in the other relationship that I have to work on so if that happens again, I will respond correctly?
Yeah, and you're not carrying one thing into the next relationship.
I'm not
That's good.
sabotaging that one.
So what
Hmm.
I'm hearing is that you're actually, and I teach my clients this too, is to look at different perspectives of a situation. Because do you believe all your thoughts are true? I always ask people this. Do you believe all your thoughts are true?
No.
Good, because they're
You
not.
got two voices.
Yep. But a lot of people get into negative situations because they think everything that they think is true. Say, for instance, like you said, that relationship, it took two of y'all to make that relationship, and there were some things that you could change, and there's some things that that other person could change.
That's
And I
right.
love the fact that you stopped and set in those emotions and asked myself, what could I have done, or what was something that I was bringing to the table that I need to work on, so when I go to the next relationship, that I'm not carrying over that baggage. And that's a lot of that's hard for a lot of people to do. And you said the key
Yeah.
word was self-reflection,
Hmm.
taking that time to understand what it is that I'm bringing to the table. And I do that on my own because I know that we bring a lot of stuff from our childhood as well. And we
Hmm.
bring that stuff into relationships. And what I always tell my clients, the way we solve problems as children, you can't use that same solving technique in an adulthood, and sometimes that's problematic.
Well, Dr. Dare, hold on just 1 minute. We
Okay.
may have some special guests that are 3 and 1 years old running in here in a little bit. So
Okay.
you may see some pop-up faces, so you may have some extra guests. Just want
And
to
that's fine. That's fine. Any questions out there for anybody that's listening? Anything that we've said so far that you wanted to jump in and make a comment, ask a question? With this show, I allowed everybody to just bring their
I
opinions.
like that.
Nobody's changing your opinion. I like to hear different perspectives because I think
Me
that's
too.
what makes us learn from each other, is listening to those. But I'm loving everything so far that you're giving us.
Conversation rules the nation.
Yes.
Well, you know
Yes.
what? So while my what so in my book,
Hmm.
there is this teaser I had given is that how God warned you and how God tells you.
Okay.
Okay, when
You gonna share it?
I'm gonna share it.
Okay, good.
Okay, can I go ahead and read that for y'all?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and so I want to read in the beginning, and so this is chapter 2. It says, when I first met my husband, we were just two people thrown together by chance. Our families moved to San Antonio by the way of the military. He came from California. I came from Berlin, Germany. While my transition may have been more drastic, it was still a transition nonetheless. I can remember so vividly the first time I saw him. He came up the stairs looking like he stepped off the cover of Vibe magazine. He was wearing white pants and a purple white shirt with this asymmetrical zipper. It was not something other guys in our school would wear because our school was more preppy. And so I'm hold on. I'm not going to read that whole part because I just want to say this is what attracted me to him. This is how
Okay.
we became best friends because he was different. Okay. And so
And y'all were bringing two different. You were California and Berlin, Germany,
Berlin,
right?
Germany, right? And we're
Yeah.
both military, and so
Okay.
because we were both military, well, his family was military, my family was military. That kind of brought us together. He had a
Okay.
different outlook on life. I had a different outlook on life. But what you'll read in the story too is that I we became best of friends, and that's all
Mhm.
he was. Shh. See, there go my guests.
Tell them
We became
hello.
friends. Okay, shh. We became best of friends, but there
Mhm.
was not an attraction as far as a love relationship. There was not an in love relationship, right?
Okay.
And so say hi, Zari.
Hello, Zari.
Hello. Say hi, Leia. Come on over here. Can they see you? There we go.
Nope.
Put your head in the mirror. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay. Now go play. Go play. Go see Uncle Jay. Okay. And so, how long have you been journaling, Marissa? Have you had times when you couldn't journal, and how did you work through that? Okay. Well, I'll answer that question first.
Okay.
Um, so I've been journaling basically all my life. And the reason that I started journaling in a younger age is because I would have these really strange dreams. Um,
Mhm.
I would say that they were kind of visions, and I would not understand them. So I would start writing them down when I was way younger. And so that kind of sparked that, start writing things down kind of thing. And then as I got older, when I started getting frustrated with things, I would just write things down because I would try to figure things out. Many people don't know, I have a memory issue. And
Okay.
so to remember things that are important, I would write them down. And so when I would get frustrated because I have so many things going on, I have to write everything down in order to keep up with what's going
Mhm.
on. That's because of my memory. And so when I'm frustrated or when I have a lot of stuff going, I would write things down. And when I was going through my divorce, I was really frustrated. So I was writing all the time. And that was 3 years leading up to the divorce. All I did was write because he would make me so mad, and I would try to do the best that I could to be the good parent because it was a battle with the child that I couldn't say what I wanted to say to him, so I would write it
Mhm.
down. So that was 3 years prior to the divorce, and then after the divorce, I would start to write things down because um, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me.
Mhm.
Because a little deeper dive into our story after we divorced, he
Mhm.
after we divorced, he got married immediately within the next month.
Oh, so he didn't waste any time. He just.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So even though I knew that it was not me, I thought, well, what was it about me?
Mhm.
And so because of that, I said, okay, let me figure this stuff out, and I just had to write. And that's where I got poetry. That's when my poetry started happening. I started writing more poems. It wasn't just a regular journal, it was poetry. And it was my heart crying out. Like I said, a lot of the times it was me waking up and I would just
Mhm.
write in the middle of the night. And that was my heart speaking because I could not figure out, I couldn't yell it, I couldn't scream it, I couldn't articulate it to anybody else. I could not get that off my chest. And so when we writing it and it came out, like I said, in poetic form, that was my heart actually speaking for me. So
So it
that's
was
just what I'm
healing.
doing over
You were
right.
healing yourself writing. So you were
Yeah,
using what we will identify as coping. That was your writing was your coping skill
that
to
was
cope
my
with the
coping skill.
situation. Yep.
Yes, yes. Could have been, a couple of glasses of wine because I did get real fond of wine every day when I got off of work. But that feeling went away. It was fleeting. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
so writing, it just happened to be that is, and I still, from time to time today I will write, but it has to be when the spirit hits.
Yep.
I would sit down and I would write,
Yep.
but like I said, I tell anybody that is the most therapeutic way to get, because you're telling your story or telling what's on your mind to the book. Nobody else is reading that, right?
Yep. Yep.
And the way I'm off topic, the way that I did my writing when I did it on my own intentionally
Mhm.
was a stream of consciousness.
Okay.
And that's when
You
you just put
just
your pen to
you
paper.
just write. Mhm.
Sometimes it's doodling, sometimes it's scribbling. Eventually, words will start popping out, and then full sentences will start to form. That's how you get that out. And the
Yep.
stream of consciousness is the best way to do it
It
because
is.
that's your true self speaking.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Awesome. So if you're listening out there, writing is very therapeutic. It gets all the stuff that you have going on in your head out onto this piece of paper, and you can kind of release it and leave it there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
back to your where you were.
Chapter 3.
Okay.
3 is called Warning. Proceed with caution.
Wow. Okay.
It says, as I write this, I could see all the pent up anger from the turmoil of bad relationship decisions. And I cringe in reflection of knowing that I should not commit to a person, but I did it anyway, which was a mistake that took many, many years to recover from. I remember the day I said, I do, even though everything about that day said, please don't. I'm going to
Mm.
share with you what should have been the happiest day of my life. the day most women dream of as little girls, my wedding day, starting with my wedding was supposed to begin at 1
Mhm.
p.m. My wedding was supposed to begin at 1 p.m., but everything that could go wrong went wrong. The first sign was when 1.5 weeks before our wedding date, when the preacher, after we completed our premarital counseling, told us he would not marry us. His reason was simply because he didn't feel our union was right. So we literally had a week to find a minister to marry us. What?
Wow.
Really, this entire book should have stopped right there. This should have been the end, right?
Mhm.
Not for me. I did not see anything other than my own ambition, and he refused to accept his advice. After all, who was he? He was merely a man, not a trusted friend, and not a trusted friend or respected minister. So his statement was perceived more as an inconvenient obstacle. So we found someone else. He was the ex-husband of my coworker, whom I had only known for a few months.
How
He
did you find? I don't mean to interrupt you, but how did you even? So, so to me, you had all these big red flags. Like, no, dude, I see my niece going, wow. But you had all these big red flags going, like, no, don't do this, don't do this.
Yes,
But
I
you
said
pushed past both of
proceed with
y'all.
caution.
Got it.
See,
Okay.
see, and so, and he asked for a $250 love offering after counseling with us for 1 hour to find out more about who we were as a couple. At the end of that session, I began to question if I made the right decision because I had an eerie feeling about him, that minister. The
Mhm.
advice he offered in the session was also sketchy, and it was not scripture based. For instance, you're going to love this part. He
Mhm.
said, "Never deny your husband sex." Okay, I can accept that.
Mhm.
But then he continued, "Even if you don't feel like it, just lay there. Let him get his release and keep him happy. A good, dutiful wife will create an honest and selfless husband." Needless to
Wow.
say, my ex-husband loved him instantaneously. Go figure. So I pre-scheduled a hair appointment that week, but the lady ended up with a family emergency the night before my wedding and had to leave town. This meant I had to get up earlier on my wedding day and run to the hair store to find a wig that looked semi-decent. Mind you, we were on a fixed budget, so there was nothing left outside. There was nothing left outside of what we paid for the wedding.
Mhm.
And as I headed to get my makeup done, the makeup artist was suddenly unavailable. My only option was to go to the mall to get my makeup done. The only person available and would have allowed me to make my wedding on time was a L'Oreal representative from the lighter side of the sun.
Mm.
When she finished with my makeup, I was 2 shades darker, purple lip. I felt so self-conscious. My family joked and asked me if I had a mortician do my makeup.
Oh my
So that ruined my dreams of feeling beautiful. My groom was also running around with his best man. So we left and went to the church on our own. Oh, yeah. And the church was an hour and 45 minutes outside the city. So we could not afford to be late. We actually didn't leave until 1 p.m. and arrived at 2:30. However, there was a delay in entering the building because the owners were also running behind. We didn't actually enter until 4 p.m. Remember, my wedding was supposed to begin at 1. Yeah.
So,
So another,
question. Can I ask you a question?
yes,
Why did the first minister say no? Like that he wasn't gonna.
he honestly said, he said specifically, "I don't think your union is right. You are not made for each other." He said, because in another part, in the first part of my book, I told you he was my best friend. I loved him. I was not in love with him. He loved me. But because I was approaching 30, I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married. And I felt that he, as my best friend and who loved me like no other, as my best friend, it was pure. He was going
Mhm.
to treat me well, right?
Mhm.
I shouldn't question anything because he's been through all of my boyfriends. He's been through everything. This man was wonderful. So, of course, you want to marry your best friend because I hear people talking about marrying your best friend
Marrying
all
your
the
best friend.
time.
Right.
Right. But you had to have that love factor. We should have dated before we got married, but we really didn't. Well, we did date, and it was a tumultuous relationship, but I was like, to hell with it. Everybody else, I was kissing too many frogs. So let me just go ahead and settle down with this one, you
Mhm.
know? So the preacher was like, "No, Marissa, yeah, this is not gonna work." He says, "You guys are great, but that's somebody else's husband. You're somebody else's wife. Y'all ain't it."
Mm. I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like y'all ignored that?
Like I said, well, I did take heed to. I did feel that there was something to it, but I didn't want to accept it. And he
Mm.
did everything he could also to assure me, "Hey, we've been best friends all this time. We can make it."
Mhm.
Even though we were having our issues with each other, he was like, we can make it. My mom, my siblings, my dad, everybody who was anybody was saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." We had so many red flags while we dated for that year that we did date for a year. We had so many red flags. It was like, this is just not right. But I'm trying to force my fit into a shoe that didn't fit because force my foot into a shoe that didn't fit because I wanted to be married and he fit the bill. He was available.
Mm.
He was available.
Mhm.
Okay, my mistake number one. That's why I say you got your own reflection. You have to figure out what parts you did wrong. He
Mhm.
was available. I wanted to be married. Let's do it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So that's right, Angela. I ignored all the signs. Yep.
Angela said I've been in a situation where I ignored the signs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one key word that I hear a lot of my clients that you mentioned is that timeline. Like I hit this certain age and I need to be married by this certain age. If you're out there, no, you don't. There
That's
is
right.
no, please don't go by a timeline. When it happens, it will happen if it happens. But everybody's not meant to be married as well. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Tennille. Definitely Taurus energy. And let me tell you about the Taurus energy. He's an
go
April
ahead.
Taurus. He's an April Taurus.
Oh.
was
I'm an
doomed.
Aries. I'm an
It was
Aries, so
doomed
it's
from the beginning. See, so you're an Aries. It's okay, but Taurus and Taurus,
it's not a match. Is that why Tennille's saying that definitely Taurus energy we have to
yes.
learn
We
the
were two
hard way.
bulls. We lock horns, and that's it. I ain't moving. You ain't moving.
Oh,
That's what the
oh.
problem was. And so yeah. So when the pastor said that he said I couldn't do. He said in my good conscience and because of the God that I'm submitted under, I can't marry you. I can't.
Mm,
He says it's not right. It's not going to work. This is not God ordained. He said, and if I marry you, I will be going against the word, and I will be going against I'll be going against what God had told me. He said he prayed about it. He said he prayed about it so fervently that he ended up hurting his knees because he stayed on them for too long. He said, in my old age, I shouldn't be on my knees that long. He said, but I was like, Lord, I need it. I need you to tell me indefinitely, is this the right thing? And the Lord kept telling him, no. He
no.
said, so if I were you, my sister, I wouldn't do it.
And did he know both of y'all, or just did he? Oh, oh,
He knew
okay.
me better than he knew
Hmm.
him. And then this counseling, Leah, Riri is doing something. I'm gonna need you to go over there. Thank you. And so he knew me better because we actually worked together. But there were a few times where we intermingled because my job always had functions.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes, he would invite us over so we can visit with him and his family. So he knew the both of us. You know,
Hmm.
my husband actually ex-husband actually ended up going to his church, and so he did end up having a relationship with him as well. But yeah, it just didn't work. He was like emphatically no.
Wow.
Hmm.
So y'all have got to go get this book
It's crazy. it,
Wow.
it is crazy. It's yeah, a lot of people say, what the heck? I cannot believe it. Like they were saying, no, heck no. Wow. Yeah, that's the response that I received.
So what did that feel like after, like when things didn't go as planned?
Well, it doesn't now, it
Uh huh.
doesn't bother me. Now it
Okay.
doesn't bother me.
Okay.
Now, at first, I felt some kind of way because I did not want to be a divorcee. I thought that there
Mm.
was an ugly stigma attached to being a divorcee. And so, like I said, my parents, they married and divorced each other a few times. And my dad is presently, happily married to my stepmom.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. happily married to
Go
my
ahead.
step, and he has been, for over 20 years. She loves him properly, right?
Mhm.
But my parents, I thought, had the perfect relationship. I had both of my parents all 18 years, and they didn't argue in front of us. My dad was loving, my mother was very, harsh and stern, but they seemed to work well. We lived a great life. So that's what I wanted. That's what I saw to be
Mhm.
normal. And anything outside of that didn't make sense to me. Okay. And so, hey, and so with my being divorced, I was always saying, well, I don't want to be divorced because I don't want to do what my parents did.
Mhm.
I wanted to do better than what my parents did. And so I tried my best to prevent that from happening, staying
Mhm.
too long. So I wouldn't
Mhm.
have that scarlet letter.
Mhm.
I didn't want that stigma. So I'm like, I will stick it out. I will stay. I will deal with it until the time when my son was 13 years old. My oldest son was 13 years old, and I saw him ball his fist up and stand with his back erect and look my ex-husband in the face. And he told him, he said, I'm not afraid of you. I will fight you today.
Mm.
That was it.
You're like, that was your sign that
That was my
this is.
sign. Now that my kids
Mhm.
are in a position to where they feel that they have to protect me. And when my kids themselves feel threatened, this is not good. I got to go.
Right.
And so
Right.
at that point, it was consistently trying to make a plan to figure out how to get out. Because every time I would leave, every time we would break up, he'd end up back. He would sweet talk me to come back in.
Wow.
Okay. It was always a reason why he had to come back. Even when I ended up, filing domestic violence charges on him, and he got into a situation. He ended up having to go to jail, and he spent some time in jail. Even then, I didn't get free of him because when he got out,
He came back.
he came back because his office was assigned to our house. We were still married. And
Wow.
so it was like, everything I did just did not work. So it took me some time to finally wake up and say enough is it. Actually, that's a lie. I did not decide to leave on my own. God made that happen. He let a
Mhm.
situation occur that snatched us apart, and I had no choice but to stand up and fight for my life. And that's actually what happened.
Wow. I'm glad you made it out of that. And
Yes.
and what I heard is that you took something that you saw in your parents' marriage and you made that a rule for your life.
Hmm.
And that doing that process made you ignore, I think, red flags because
Yes.
you were stuck on, I'm going to keep this marriage together. I'm not going to have a divorce. I don't want to be the scarlet letter. And so that's why I tell people, I'm glad you did a self reflection and looked in the mirror and said, you know what, this is not. I don't have to stick to this ideology that I had in my head from
Yeah.
my parents' marriage. So I'm glad you got out of that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm telling you, and it's the power that people pour over you. The power in words.
Hmm.
And he would say things to me that would make me think staying with him was my best option because after that, who was going to want me,
I've heard that so many times
right?
in couples. Hmm.
You know, I'm overweight, which yes, I am a woman of the thicker persuasion, but hey, we are in style. Um, and that he says I'm a dummy with a degree because I do have a memory issue, but I
Hmm.
overcome that with writing stuff down. Mind you, I do have a master's degree, and
Hmm.
hey, see, I told you my favorite little my audience members are out there keeping it live for us.
And
Um,
they're okay. We still can hear you, so we're not bothered.
okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I thought I was dumb because like I said, he called me a dummy with a degree. In fact, whatever 911 calls, I bet you they laugh. I bet you they replay that back all the time. He says, I need you to, what did he say? Because I called 911 one time and they was like, sir, is there anything wrong? He said, yes, she just drank a big cup of stupid. He said, what do you mean? Well, she's a dummy with a degree because she called y'all thinking you're going to do something.
So this is the guy that was supposed to be your friend. Uh,
He
well,
became a monster the night we got married. That very night we got married, he became a monster. Yes, it was
wow.
My mom and dad actually on our wedding day, and I put that in the book. On our wedding day, my dad, he came to me. He said, "Look, babe," he says, "there is an escape door in the groom suite." He goes, "If you want to go, just say the word. We can go."
Wow.
I'm like, "No, no, no. It's okay. I'll wait." Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. It was terrible.
And so you started reclaiming your power, and you talk about this in your book.
Hmm.
By how did you start reclaiming your power?
Well, the way that I reclaimed my power was through my introspection, through journaling and introspection.
Okay.
And so, like I said, when I wrote this book, the questions, the reason why I have these prompts in this book is because these are the questions that I had to ask myself. This is what I was going through. When I sat back and reflected on, oh my God, he did this and he did that. Why did I stay? What the heck is my problem? Blah, blah, blah. I started asking myself these questions and answering them in this form. So that's how I ended up coming with that. That was my
Gotcha.
that was my time to do some introspection. Mind you, even though I wrote this and even though it's a short guide, it did not happen within 2 months. This is actually what 3.5, 4 years worth of experience. This
Wow.
is this is a compilation of what I went through during this time in
Mhm.
order to get to a place where I can stand up, I can look at myself and I say, that chick is bad.
Mhm.
He's amazing. I'm ready for love. I had been out of a relation. I had to get out of a relationship because the end of the book, the guy called boyfriend, I was in a relationship with him before I was completely healed.
Healed.
And so
Mhm.
there was things about that relationship that also I should have seen. And I was getting warnings and I was not listening to them because he was not the monster that I was married to, but he was a different monster. So this
So you
monster played on my emotional psyche.
wow.
Okay. He it was an emotional void that he gave me. So I escaped the mental abuse and what turned into later physical abuse to an emotional abuse. And so
Mhm.
still different types of abuse. And then, people say mental and emotional abuse are not real. Oh, honey, it is. Oh, it is.
Oh, yes.
Because it can mess you up seriously. To this very day, I have to have conversations with myself to remind myself how powerful I am. My daughter, the most beautiful woman in the world, my
Mhm.
22-year-old daughter, whom I love to death, she has to sometimes have these conversations with me and remind me, Mom, that's no, no, you are awesome. You are queen. You're beautiful. You're powerful. Even though I know this, I have relapses sometimes, because that was a that time it didn't happen overnight. I didn't become that person overnight. And
Mhm.
so the process of healing is not an overnight process. You have
Right.
to always, even though I say I'm in a status of power right now, it's still a constant process. You still have to remind yourself. You still have to journal. You still have to do your affirmations and read self-help books or motivational things. You have to dance your pain away. You have to
Mhm.
still keep at it, like being an alcoholic, a person being abused or have a low self-esteem. You have to constantly work at it. It's a 12-step program that never ends.
Yep. You know why too? Is because that verbal abuse is constant. That voice is ruminating in your head every
Absolutely.
day, every chance that it gets. As soon as you
Absolutely.
fail at something, that voice comes in and says, "See, I told you.
That's
See,
right. That
see, I
negative
told."
talk.
Yep,
Mhm.
negative self-talk. And
That
so,
negative
yep, and
that's the
so that
real
takes a
truth.
while to kind of get that to quiet that voice. So I'm
Mhm.
glad you brought that up because I think a lot of people, they think they are healed from an abusive relationship, but that could take,
Yeah.
forever. I mean, you can
I'm
be
better.
right.
You
Okay.
can get better. You can get to
Mhm.
a place of acceptance and and a place of emotional fulfillment, but
Mhm.
you still got to work on it. And it will be a lifelong journey. You always have to work on it because you can have little small triggers that sets you back.
Yep.
But the difference is that this time when it sets you back, you have the tools to fight back.
Yep.
You have the tools to come back and not stay in that place. That's where I am today. I have the tools to come back. That negative self-talk, it can only stay for a minute because then
Mhm.
I know now to voice it out loud to say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on.
I
And
love
quickly
that.
when I say that, I have people that will surround me to remind me of my power. And that is important. Having a village of support is important.
Yep. And there's power in those words.
There's power in
Even
those words.
just saying it to yourself like I am not this failure, or I am not this thing. Because I think a lot of people too walk away with anxiety from those types of relationships,
Yep.
creating. And so you have a lot of different. I noticed you had depression in here as well. You're left with a lot of emotional baggage once you've dealt with someone in a domestic violence situation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I tell everybody mental health awareness, mental health is every day.
Yes. So Angela
Mental,
says, yes, I'm always working on myself and I'm not perfect. It's progress, not perfection. Yes,
that's
Angela.
right.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is progress, not perfection. And that's the thing is that people, when they go to a doctor, go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, they want to be cured today.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't take a pill and make it go away. You
No.
know, but what you can do is take your medicine on time, like you're supposed to every single day. And this
Yep.
medicine are those affirmations. Like you said, I am powerful. I
Yep.
am beautiful. I am wonderful. I am smart. I am whole. I am healthy. I am a victor, not a victim. I am a
Yep.
I'm triumphant. You know, you have to remind yourself of these things so that you don't have to worry about that negative talk having power over you. You don't have to worry
Right.
about the words that other people tell you because they can tell you anything they want to, but it doesn't matter what you say. It only matters what I say.
What I say. Yep.
You know, absolutely,
I love
absolutely.
that. So any questions out there? I know everybody's listening because the numbers are up. So everybody's sitting here is listening. So any questions out there? And
This
I've
is
been putting up the link. Your book is it can be purchased on Amazon and
Amazon. Yes,
okay. Okay.
it's self-published, so you can purchase it on Amazon. And I actually have copies here. If anybody wants an autograph copy, I have a bunch of them here at home, so they're welcome to get a copy from me. Um, but I really desire to. My goal this month is my birthday month is to sell 100 books. If I can sell 100 books, I can touch 100 lives. There's 100 different women. I just got invited to a book club, which I'm so excited about. That's over 1,000 women to talk about
Awesome.
the same thing, mental health. And
Mhm.
what's exciting about that to me is that my whole goal is to empower. I want you to know my story because you see this beauty and this glam, the
Mhm.
habits and all that stuff. But there's a
Mhm.
story behind this. There's a story behind my smile. You know, I am more than my smile. There's pain behind this. Okay.
Mhm.
But people walk around every single day and you would never know what they went through just to get out the house,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
People will stand there and look in your face and smile and talk with you, and you will never imagine the traumas that they have gone through. And so
Mhm.
by talking about it, it actually frees you because it's the stigma of being judged that
Yep.
keeps you in bondage. Years out of a relationship, you don't want to talk about it. And I said that in one of my posts that I made on my page. As I said, in writing this book, it was met with a lot of fear and trepidation because I was
Mhm.
worried about what people would think. I was worried that people would look at me and say, wow, and you stayed? Wow, and you married him anyway? Well, dang, girl, I thought you was smarter than that. I didn't know you was stupid. I was concerned what other people would think about me,
Mhm.
right? And so in releasing this book, I was afraid of that stigma and I was afraid of that judgment. But guess what? Thank you, Angela. Guess what? The power came from telling my story. Opening
Yep.
your mouth, I
Yep.
say faith has to move your mouth before it can move your mountain. If you want to be healed of something, delivered from something, if you want to be free from something, you got to talk about it. You got to expose the devil from what it is. You got to let that scary boogeyman monster out the closet and say, I see you.
Yes.
You will not take
Yes.
this over me anymore. I see you. Okay. That's the way you reclaim your power.
And that is awesome. And that's what I tell my clients all the time. It's like the negative image or person wants you to stay quiet so
Yeah.
that you can't, release that power. But this book is going to help so many women. I see it. And I'm glad you wrote it.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you wrote it, and I'm glad you shared that story. And I'm glad we don't worry about judgment because nobody can judge anybody because we all have our own stuff
We
to
do.
process. And so, anything else you want to share before we come to an end? Um, any
Um,
questions out there, y'all?
Thank you, Karen. I certainly appreciate you. And Angela, this is a blessing. Hold
There you
on,
go.
somebody said something here.
Is
Somebody
that
else has said
Charlotte?
something. Fine. Is
Oh,
that
Charlotte says, I don't have any questions, but this book is a must have. My cousin has overcome something many women are still battling. She is a
Mhm.
revelation that you can survive and become fearless. Love you.
Love
I
you too,
love this. No, a lot of women they need to hear this because they're left with the remnants of a negative relationship and they don't know what to do. And your book is a guide to guide them like, hey, this is how you can reclaim your power. And you
Look.
just gave a synopsis of that in this short
Is my
time, and I
mom with
love it.
me, Mama? My mom is on.
Oh, hello, mom.
Yes, and it is. Let me tell you, it's been some years. I am now 7 years out of that relationship, and I'm now almost a year into a healthy relationship. I
Good, good for
finally
you.
learned what it is to love me first.
Hmm.
It's not about that other person loves you. You got to love you first. Because if you love you, you're going to demand somebody to treat you the right way,
Yes.
right?
Yep. And you made a statement like, don't jump into another relationship just to say you're in a relationship.
Yeah,
Make sure that, again, make sure that you, and those weren't verbatim words, I just kind of made, but make sure that you love yourself first before you put yourself into another situation.
that's right. I, I,
Yeah,
I call myself a life, LYFE coach. Love yourself first every day in every way,
I
coach.
love that. Okay.
Because that's the key to your happiness is to love yourself first. Love your faults, love your victories, love everything,
Hmm.
love your stinky draws. Love yourself first. Because if you can't love yourself, nobody else can either.
That is so true. So true.
Mhm.
Tennille says, congratulations and thanks for sharing your story.
You got one?
And
Oh, thank
she's got
you.
mine.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. So it was a great honor to have you on here, and your story is amazing. Like I said, I love the guests that we have on here. We've been learning so much, and you just added right to that. So, what I want to do one day is get everybody together and we just do like this big conference because I've had people with workbooks on Let's Heal, how to
Yes.
heal.
Yes.
Your book would fit right into that. So, I'm thinking about working on that. So,
We're gonna be live because I like to travel.
oh, well, yeah, I want it to be like in a building, like we all come
Okay.
together, like a panel, and everybody presents their book or whatever, and then kind of have the audience,
Well,
chime
definitely
in and
keep me in
talk.
mind. I would love to be a part of that.
Yes, yes. So, any more questions before we close out the show? This has been amazing. I've learned so much. I use a lot of this stuff too, just to help talk to my clients and refer them to your book for resources so that they can read and you know. So, yes. Any more questions out there? Great show. Great responses. Thank y'all for taking the time to spend it with us on this Friday evening. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I forgot about that. And Karen says, congrats. Your story is amazing. Your smile is contagious. Oop, did we freeze? I think we're frozen. Can y'all still hear me? Yeah. Your dad said, I think she's frozen. Yeah, I think she's frozen. But her dad says the next guy has to make it through him. I love that. I love that. All right, y'all. So I think she's frozen and she's gone. So thank y'all for joining, and we will have another artist next week, another author next week. And so thank y'all so much, and have a good Friday and enjoy your weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. All right. Bye.